Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask, massage therapists on the internet. I am one half of your host, Nate Faye, and wouldn't you know it, I'm a licensed massage therapist, osteopathic manual therapist, and when I'm not hanging out with my good friend Ben Stone, I'm hitting the road and teaching Dalton myoskeletal alignment techniques.
Welcome. My name is Ben Stone, as you heard. Been a massage therapist for a long time. And sometimes we count how many hours we've been doing massage. Sometimes we count how many years. Sometimes we just do it. We are here doing this podcast we call Ben and Nate's Questions. We ask people on the internet. Welcome. What's new?
Hey, Ben. It's been, we took a few week break to get through the rest of our summer. And, I think probably a lot's happened in both of our lives. But before we really get into the you and the me and the world of massage therapy, you and I have been, we've been doing this podcast. This is episode 43 tonight. And in the past, you and I have referenced Bob and Brad, the two most famous physical therapists on the internet. And I read recently, and I'm guilty as charged, but I know one of them passed away recently.
Yeah, I did also see that. I think he had some kind of cancer. And so it was, it was known that his health was not doing well. And then, yeah. So that's sad to lose someone that has, kind of an influence on people. I don't feel like they were feeding people a lot of baloney, which is what you can kind of see on the internet sometimes. So it's a sad time that we lost somebody good like that.
Yeah, for sure. But on a more positive note, Ben Stone, what has been happening in Nebraska?
What's going on in Nebraska? Nebraska doesn't have much going on except we grow some corn. We talked about the corn sweat. The other big thing we have now that we're into the fall is we have football. So we don't have any professional teams. The closest professional team we have to where I live is about 3.5, 4 hours away in Kansas City. So we have college football and we latch onto that. And so it's been good to see college football come back. I like college football. I went to our last two games. So we had a game that we actually played in Arrowhead in Kansas City, which was a blast to go to. We went down there and tailgated. We went to this last game, just had a great time. I'm just glad to see fall and football is back. How about you, my man? What have you been up to the last few weeks?
Well, football is back. My son Mike plays high school football, so they have their first official game this Friday.
Nice.
So looking forward to doing that. So we're the Stafford Bulldogs, and as I guess we say, we will take the other team to the dog pound. I think that's it. I think that's our whole thing here. So, but I'm looking forward to that, and man, it's been pretty wild. I moved my office, which was no easy feat, but it was time. I had my practice, the space I'd been in for a long time. Yeah, I had a pretty troubling landlord situation, and kind of along the lines of slumlord type stuff, and just the building and the space was just dilapidating without much help. So, and I just got super lucky, man, and I moved into this new space that's like a palace compared to what I had. So it was a blessing in disguise, and some a lot of cool ways. It's starting fresh. You get to spend some money. You get to do stuff that maybe you get settled into your space for so long that you kind of stop thinking about decorations and space, and now I can kind of think about all that stuff and maybe have some good tax deductions for the first time in 10 years this year.
There you go. I mean, you're dropping a lot of what we call foreshadowing into what we may be talking about in this episode.
Sure am. And then
Yeah.
other than that, man, it's fair season in New England, so this is like a big time. You mentioned football, so fair season is in full effect, and we have all these massive like weekend fairs that come around and attract bajillions of people to go eat chocolate covered corn dogs and kangaroo hamburgers and all kinds of stuff like that.
Everything you can ever want on a stick and deep fried.
And rides that are held together with Rubber bands.
Rubber bands and hope.
Hope. Hope floats, man.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
So, but other than that, that's good. Hey, listen, before we logged on tonight, you were telling me you're teaching a class. Why don't you tell us more about that?
That is right. I think I mentioned in the past that I am now officially an approved NCBTMB continuing education provider. So I'm nationally approved. I have one class that has been approved. Hopefully have a couple more in the future, but right now I have a 3-hour ethics class that will be held live over Zoom. So we have discussions about some ethics stuff over Zoom. And the thing I noticed, I've been a massage therapist long enough that I've had to renew my license several times, and there's always an ethics component to renewing for most states. And I just get really tired of hearing the terms transference, countertransference, inappropriate behavior. It's like, I think we all get it by now. If you've been a massage therapist for any longer than about 5, 6 years, it's like, come on, can we talk about other things? So that's what I did. I put together this class where we talk about other things that are going to be helpful to your massage practice. One of the things is managing uncertainty. And I know we've talked about that in the past on some of our episodes, but we dive deep into how to manage uncertainty and how that can help bring out therapeutic outcomes, favorable therapeutic outcomes. So I'm pretty excited about that. I got my first class coming up on September 10th, October 13th, and then I've got one on October 29th also. So hit me up if you want to know more.
Love that, Ben. Yeah, and I like what you're saying too. It's time to maybe change some of the conversations and narratives. And certainly that stuff is obviously important to know, right? Some of the traditional ethics classes, but it's interesting too. Now we won't get into this type, but right, how relevant is that stuff? You and I have talked about it. You're in a room with somebody for an hour. You're going to get to know these people. There's going to be like friendships that are built with people all the time. I joke with a lot of my families that come in. I'll say, "When am I getting invited to the Thanksgiving table?" So,
Yeah.
it's just a lot. There's a difference between reality and logic. And anyway, so I'm excited that you're doing something like that. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes for you.
Yeah, it's fun. The main thing about this class is fun.
Good.
Yeah.
That's how every class should have elements of fun in it.
That's right. And you've got a class coming up pretty soon too, don't you? Tell me a little quick blurb about that.
Well, very quick blurb. It's seminar season kicking off for me, so I'm heading to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada next weekend to teach the Canadian Osteopathic and Massage Conference, and that's with a group called COMMA, I believe. And then after that, I'm gonna do an AMTA education event, and right outside of New York City. And then I'm gonna come, Ben. You're not gonna believe this, man, but I'm flying all the way to see you again, and we're gonna
Get
do a big
out. Look at that.
skeletal class.
I'm gonna be able to share some corn sweat with you, I think.
Some corn sweat, and we're coming off of Halloween, so maybe we can wear a Halloween costume. It's never, it's the day after Halloween that I'm teaching, so maybe we can do that.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, so we'll have a good time. We had a great workshop out there in January, and I think we could do that again.
Yeah, you teach a lot of great techniques from the Dalton Myoskeletal alignment techniques. People can register at ericdalton.com. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's right. And when I came in January, we kind of just stuck to some upper and lower body techniques. And this particular class, we're going to dive more into the foot and the ankle. We're going to spend some time Sunday afternoon and look at a lot of variations in sideline technique as well. So it should be a good weekend.
It's always fun to review. Every time, I go to a class that I've been to before or I know something about, I learn something just, on a little bit deeper level. There's always something to learn, and I love it.
And Ben, I'm not guilty as charged here. I have not taken a live class. I've taken a bunch of online courses, but I haven't taken a live class, and I don't even remember. And I am taking my first class as a student, and I don't even remember. coming up in October too. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm taking a class with a gentleman named by the name of Gregory Lehman, and he's a Canadian physiotherapist, chiropractor, physiotherapist, physical therapist. So he's got more degrees than anybody.
Yeah.
And Greg does a program called talks about renegotiating biomechanics and pain science. So it's like a pain science class, but what I like about Greg is he makes it sort of applicable to how can we bring this stuff to our practice versus just pretending we're a bunch of armchair psychologists. How can we really use this stuff in real life? So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to his perspective, and he's a smart, funny guy, and that's going to be in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to travel out to Pennsylvania for that.
Nice.
Yeah, man. So with that being said, what do we got tonight?
We got one more thing. I got to ask you something. You already foreshadowed what we are going to be talking about today, so I'm just going to throw this one out. How do you get down from an elephant?
Ben, how do you get down from an elephant?
You don't get down from an elephant, silly. You get down from a goose.
I love it. Another knock it out of the park dad joke, man.
Boom. Yes. What are we talking about today? Well, you kind of mentioned it because you have been dealing with this moving into a new space. And so I'm going to go straight to our website. Well, it's not a website, it's a Facebook page called Ben and Nate's Questions We Ask Massage Therapists on the Internet. The question reads: what is the first thing you do when moving into a new space as a massage therapist? What is your process for creating a new space? And you have had to do this. So you are the perfect candidate to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the fun, the not fun, all of that stuff. Um, so I love this topic. It's good timing. I mean, it's not good that you had to move spaces, but I think it's good
Right.
timing that we asked this question a while back. And I wonder where should we start with this?
Well, Ben and Mike, there's two different ways we can look at it, like all of our questions. I mean, like if you are a new Messiah or a opening your business for the first time, so maybe you've gone from working on a franchise or renting for somebody, and now it's time to open your doors, or you're in my shoes, which many of you I know that are listening have been, where all of a sudden, hey, it's time to get out of your space and find a new home for whatever reason. Maybe one of my colleagues, or good friend Dave Gassner, he had a similar situation where he came in and place was flooded, ceiling collapsed, and he had to not find a new space. And that was kind of my situation. And I'd been in my space for 10 years. And so it was time to move. And it's an interesting thing because right, what do we need as a massage therapist, right? You need a private room. That's like bare minimum. And my particular class, not class, I got classes on my mind. My particular situation is, I have also two other practitioners with me. So, I'm looking for this new space. I had to find an office that would fit three treatment rooms. And so anyway, we found that space, and we found an amazing landlord. And in my situation, I gained about almost 400 square feet more than my current office. So what that meant for me, from my previous office to this one, that meant I had not only a waiting area, but an actual waiting area and a big waiting area. That also meant I have this treatment room. I'm actually calling it my apartment because it's like, I mean, it's probably twice the size as my previous treatment room, as is the other clinician. She has a much larger treatment room. And then dietitian that works with me, her room's about the same size. And then I've got all this hallway space to fill and storage space. So I have to think very differently now from, having moved from my previous space to this one. And with that being said, one of the cool things about moving, right? But have you moved before? And what's one of the big things you do when you move is you purge a lot of stuff, right? I mean, I threw out so much stuff. And so to fundamentally answer this question, what's the first thing you do when moving into a new space and what's my process? Well, the first thing that I had to do was bring over the two most important things right away so that I could continue to work without an interruption in my schedule. So, I mean, I'll just tell it like it is, my massage table and my credit card machine. And those were the two most important things to get over so that I could start running clients as soon as possible without any interruption to my day.
Yeah, the
Now,
basics.
basics, man, and I mean, truthfully, on top of that, your laptop and your accoutrements in terms of oils and creams and potions and lotions, whatever you like to use. And, those were the basics. But obviously, it was more than that. But so, and we'll get more into this because I want to give you, obviously, I want to get all your input here. So my process for moving into this new space was like, get the four most important things in there to to continue to generate income so that all this other stuff could come after.
Yeah, so you are prioritizing functionality
Yeah.
is the very first thing. How do we make this work? And I've moved several times, and I know there have been times where that's what you do. You make it usable, and then you worry
Right.
about the pieces later. Like, hey, I know this room doesn't look pretty right now, but I just moved in, and we need to get you treated. So, uh, bear with
Exactly.
me. I've had to say that a few times to people, for sure.
Definitely. That anatomy poster that's sitting on the floor over there is probably going to sit on the floor for another month. And that's
Yeah.
just the way it's going to be
And those
for,
boxes you walked past when you walked in the front door, they're going to be there for a while.
they're going to be there for another month as well. Yeah, that's right, man. But the reality was I had a lot of help. And after getting the basics in there, I've only been in there. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. 2 weeks of seeing clients tomorrow, and I kind of liked in a lot of ways though, Ben. I'll be honest with you, kind of going back to basics. In terms of like just I was more focused on getting some lighting for my room. I like very warm, soft, glowing type lighting. Even based off the type of work that I do, I still like to create that atmosphere of sort of like calm and I like displaying my diplomas and everything, right? I'm proud of that stuff. So that stuff certainly that was also kind of first to go up too. And Shauna helped me out. And so as I was getting my massage table ready the night before of seeing clients, what was important for me, I said, you know what? I want my diplomas up on the wall and I want those displayed. So, that was certainly another kind of a priority for me.
Yeah. And how is it that you decide what's more important in your room? And everyone's going to be different. And I
Yeah.
wonder, what is it? How is it that we make the space ours? And is it important to have the feel of the space match your advertising? So let's say, for example, what people see on your website. Is it important for your space to match the feel of the website? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, people, right? It's I like that question, man. It set off a lot of thoughts in my head, right? It's, you see something online. Amazon is kind of notorious for kind of sneaking stuff in there. So for example, I went on Amazon. I needed to buy a bathroom cabinet for my office, right? That's another important thing, right? Just
Yeah.
basic essentials to keep you functioning. And Amazon's kind of funny, right? So they show all these pictures of a bathroom cabinet, and I'm like, oh, that one looks good. I click on it, I order it. Well, this bathroom cabinet shows up. It's
For a
like,
Smurf.
yeah, it even came. I thought it was a coaster. I'm like, I didn't order any coasters, even the way it was packaged. And right. So it's like, should just Amazon kind of has a habit of doing that once in a while, and kind of having goofy stuff in there, leading you to believe that it's this. And if you don't read, I'm guilty as charged, right? Reading the details, reading the fine print, like, hey man, I just need a bathroom cabinet.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, right? When people when people see pictures of me and videos of my office, yeah, I want them to be like, oh cool, that's what it looked like. And I've heard people say this to me before, right? Like we reference Eric Dalton all the time, and right, so Eric filmed some of his earliest works in the late 90s and then filmed his last set of videos only 2 short years ago. And so if you've only been watching videos of Eric from 1997 and then you met him for the first time in 2021, right? And people have said to me, like, in their minds, they're like, oh my God, Eric, looks totally different, right? People would say that all the time. And, it was even important for me to also update the videos in our presentation, just for the kind of current look and feel and everything like that. I think it's important. Yeah.
That's an excellent point. I was going to ask you, how important is it from a consumer standpoint to have the website match, what they can expect to see in the office? And that's part of what I teach in this ethics class I've got is managing expectations, but updating your personal profile, who you are, what you look like. My beard's starting to get a little more gray as I get older. I think it's important to have an updated picture of you because I can't tell you, I see a lot of that massage therapist websites where they have a picture of them when they're 23 and you walk in and they're now in their, 40s or something like that. It's like, you look a lot different. I mean, that maybe doesn't change the effectiveness of the work, but it changes your expectations of what to see.
Totally does, Ben, and I think that's important, man. I've gotten into that habit the last couple of years of updating my picture once a year because, again, yeah, I mean, sad but true, right? I'm getting pretty white in the face and my hair, and I want people to know that the Nate Faye that you're seeing is the Nate Faye that you're going to get, and that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so I had some other questions I want to ask you about the move. And
Yeah,
you think
yeah.
about, how long had you thought about wanting to move? Because we get comfortable in our space. And I'm getting the vibe that you really appreciate and you really liked that you moved. And so you do this and you're like, I don't know if you thought this, but did you think, why didn't I do this way sooner?
Bad hair. I have my own term. I feel like I invented this phrase, but maybe I didn't. Bad haircut syndrome. So I feel like I've been saying this forever, and I feel like I made this up. But just when you think you invented something, somebody tells you they invented it. Oh, but so bad haircut syndrome. My definition of that, right? So you and I have pretty similar haircuts, right? And short on the sides, a little spiky on the top. And then one day, Ben, you just decide to hide for 8 months and you grow your hair long. And maybe it's you got nice curly hair when you grow it long. And people say, man, you look so much better now. That haircut you've had for the last 30 years, you look ridiculous. Right. But so right. So whenever stuff like that happens, that's my analogy for a bad haircut syndrome. And when I moved into my space 10 years ago, I spent a lot of money on it, right? Because as a business, you when you go into business for yourself, I mean, I think you can you can correct me on this, but I think they basically tell you to plan on about spending $50,000 to start a business.
Okay.
I think that's like the average cost. I mean, we could Gemini that or Google that or whatever, and just kind of see if that's still the average expected cost. So my startup was about 20 grand to start my previous practice in terms of build out, air conditioners. I mean, I was already 10 years into my career. So maybe that additional money had already been spent, prior years, marketing, advertising, equipment, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And, I got into my previous space and it was pretty quick. It was within the first year I kind of found out that my landlord was, you know, a slumlord. But you try to ignore it and you try to make it work. And I want to go back to your question about look on your website versus real life. Totally embarrassing for me because in my previous practice, I had all these beautiful pictures taken. You got the brick building, you got the sign, you got my entryway. Well, what the camera's not showing is all the broken windows above me, all the trash in the parking lot and the nip bottles and the tree growing out of the sewer, right? That's all hiding from view, right? And I was always truthfully embarrassed of that, right? People are seeing my website and seeing this cool old school brick building and showing up and there's like a dead cat that's been there for 20 years in the parking lot. And not really, but
Yeah.
and so how long had I began to think about moving about 5 years ago. 5 years ago is when my brain started to shift. But it's kind of like getting divorced, man. It's like a similar thing where you're like, no, I want to make this work. I want to try to make this work at all costs for a lot of reasons. You spend a lot of money. You've all your clients that you've built up over the years are used to coming to a location. They're used to the drive. They're used to how to end. They're just totally used to everything. And you don't always want to rock people's boats because, as you and I have talked about, people stop seeing you for reasons you may never know. Maybe they didn't like how your hair looked that day and they're going to stop seeing you. And that's a true story. You just never know. And I didn't want to rock that boat either. And and then there's the difficult task, Ben, as you know. You got to find the right space that's going to house minimally one private room, or if you've got a collective, how am I going to house two, three, four plus clinicians in treatment rooms that are at least 12 by 12, which is a small treatment room, but you want to have at least that sort of, or 12 by 10, and that's cutting it kind of small. So then finding the right space ultimately takes time. So 5 years went by, and all of a sudden, the most perfect space possible came up.
Yeah. I think we get comfortable in our spaces, and unless we are actively thinking about it, because like you said, that space isn't going to just magically appear. You have to want it,
Yeah,
and you have to be on the lookout for it.
totally. And it's an interesting thing because, of course, with all my clients now that have been coming into the new space, a lot of questions come up. And one of the most common questions I got was, "How come you never bought a building?" And I was like, "Man, like, my answer is simple. Like, I wish I was a better business person 15 years ago, and somebody said, 'Hey, you know what? For your long term, you should buy a building.'" But that just wasn't on my radar. I never thought about that. I never, of course, you think about what you spent for rent when the economy was different 10, 15 years ago. I probably would have had the building paid off by now. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I don't, it's fine. But, at 50 years old, the last thing I want to do is, buy a piece of property.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of an interesting thing that people were asking me about. And, but anyway,
Yeah. So I want to go take a steer us into
let's
the
do it.
how we have learned to set up our room. So I can tell you when I first started, I started in a shared room, so it was already set up for me. And it wasn't until later that I had the ability to start to put things where I thought they were better for me. And then we start to learn as we move from space to space and space to space and moving on. I mean, I don't know how many times I've moved around and used different rooms and that kind of thing. But you learn like, hey, it's better to have my stuff on my right side because my flow is this way and I need to grab this. And so like for the last probably 8, 10 years, my room hasn't changed. It's the same setup. I have this. I have my kinesio tape. I have my tools, the little some cups. I use some things, and it's all accessible. And that's the way I like it, and that's the way I keep it. And does that matter when you're setting up a room? And is that things that you thought about when you're setting up this new room in your new space?
Yeah. I love this tonight, man. So I lied to myself. I've lied to myself for about 18 years of my career. And I lied to myself and I convinced myself that I liked a small room. Okay. So in my two previous offices, the first 8 years of my career, I rented a room from a chiropractor. And it was probably about 12, I think 12 by 10. All right. So then when I moved into my new office, my room was 12 by 10. Now, in terms of like flow and everything, well, that was easy because I had my table and I could just reach my hand over in any direction without having to walk away, pause, come back. So now I'm in my room at like I said, my room is like ridiculous for
Yeah.
me, right? And I'm not used to it. And so a lot of that stuff has come up. I have to now, I'm working on reconfiguring um, certain things. Now, I don't use tools, so I don't have to worry about that. And my scrub pants have a little loop pocket, and I just drop my little Prosage bottle of oil in there, and it stays on my little pocket holster the whole session.
Yeah.
So that's have lotion will travel. So here's the interesting thing, man, is sheet management. So in my previous office, and this is something that actually came up as like an issue for me. Now, in my previous office, I opened up my treatment room door. I had a closet right there, so I could quickly. I like a fast turnover.
Yeah.
I've always loved, truthfully, keeping a tight schedule with like. I mean, I do runs of like barely 5 minute breaks, and that's just me. Change my sheets, wash my hands, Lysol down my table, do my thing, and keep on moving. So in my new space, man, I gotta do the 50-yard dash down the hallway, right where I currently was keeping my sheets. So my room's big enough, and I haven't purchased this yet, but this will be, what are some things that I want to go back to our original question for this week. Now I have the room that I can maybe purchase some sort of armoire or a bureau to keep in my room and to do sheet management of clean sheets and maybe dirties in the drawer, and then I can take my dirties home at the end of the day. That way I can just stick right in my room and just keep doing what I do best. And so that was definitely an interesting thing to come up.
Yeah, it's a part of how your room feels to you, but then how do you want the room to feel to the customer too? Like how much personality do you put in there, and how much neutrality do you put in your room? Because I know we've talked about this in the past, not talking with customers too much about politics, religion, that kind of thing. But then how do you decorate your room to be you, but also to be neutral?
Right. I see pictures of massage therapy rooms online, man. I see people that put just really like crazy lights, almost like fake trees and plants and all kinds of stuff. And you know what? I always say, I never say like I don't like that. I just say I think that works for them, right, in their space, and just wouldn't work for me. It's not my space. And I don't know. I like that sort of. We talked about lighting earlier. Lighting's important to me. Sound is super important to me. for my ears, and that's actually another thing that's been important for me to work on is music volume and placement. The building that I'm in is also a very old, it's an old mill building. So the ceilings are like, I don't know, 20 feet probably. So the sound really kind of goes up and echoes. So that's been kind of my process this week is working on speaker placement for my music. Where does that need to sit? But to answer your question, right, simplicity, neutrality, or how much is too much, um, as I've been getting my room together, right, I've got my table, I've got a couple shelves, I've got a hanger for people to hang their whatever they need to hang up, little place for them to put their shoes. I've got 4 diplomas on the wall. I've got my resistance bands. I don't know, Ben. I'm just, for the most part, other than that, I'm pretty simple.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, Hazardville Wellness has a brand identity. How much of that brand identity is brought into your room, like logos or anything like that?
This office is a little bit different. So I do actually have, I had a space in the waiting area to also put an additional sign up. And the wall was built that way to have like a nice 3D sign. And that's the first time I've ever done that as well. But Ben, I'm going to actually volley the question back to you. Right? Is your room the brand, or is Ben Stone the brand?
I mean, I think everybody's different. I he, yeah, it's a really good question. It's one and the same, but how do you portray your brand? Because I've been into places, you go into, say, like, I don't know, a Starbucks or something. You're in a Starbucks. If someone blindfolds you and takes the blindfold off, and you're in the space, you're in a Starbucks, or you're in a, I don't know, the different restaurant that has a good brand identity. Is that necessary for a massage room?
Well, it's an interesting thing because in some ways, and Ben, you're I mean, you've truthfully been a teacher for a long time, but you're newly accredited and you're jumping into the world of continuing education. And you have a personality in the massage world, right? You have the Ben Stone superhero logo. And I don't think you're wearing Superman underoos in your treatment room. I don't know. Maybe you are. It'd be kind of interesting. If, maybe it'd be cool if you did. But
No one will ever know.
we'll never know, especially when they're face down. Um, so I think there is a brand, right? So I've considered this, the toss between the seminar business and my massage office, where yeah, there's a brand. When you come into my office, I'm gonna have black scrub pants on and a black t-shirt with my name on it. And and I kind of think that that's like right, the personality of the brand is what people are coming in for. So I think it's kind of more brand than actual like stuff on the wall and everything for me personally. And over the years, especially with social media, right? I mean, you develop content, I develop content, we develop content together, and you start getting a lot of eyes and ears on you. And this is actually back to your original question, right? The people that are listening to you, seeing you on the internet and following you, and then they go take a class from you in person, right? They're expecting the brand of Ben Stone that they saw behind the screen. And I think our clients in this day and age are kind of expecting that too.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have what they call micro influencers, so people who are locally, social media influencers, and they attract the people that like their vibe. So your vibe attracts your tribe, and so you put stuff out, and people get to almost test drive you. That's not the right word, but they get to see what you're all about, and then they get to decide, you know, that Nate, he's pretty cool. I think I want to go. I think I want to go check him out. Get a session from him. See if he can help me with my low back, or Like, that Nate, I don't know. I don't know that that's the right kind of vibe I want. I'm going to try something else. So I think, this world of social media has, man, there's all different kinds of ways to advertise our brand and market who we are.
Here's the thing. This is a good example. The couple times in my career where I've tried to do something different or introduce something different to my treatment room, it felt it fell flatter than a flatbed truck because my clients were like, "That's not you," and it didn't matter how interesting I thought it was, or if I put education, or if I put whatever behind it. But whenever I tried to introduce anything else than what Nate Faye does in that treatment room, people were like, "I don't get it,"
Hmm.
because they're so used to me and they're so used to what happens. And I, yeah, and and Sean and I have talked about that in length. I invested in something about a year or two ago, and I was all excited to introduce it to my clients as part of their session. So like some neuro brain sort of, retraining for like vestibular movements and, coordinative movements and everything like that. My clients were like, "What are you doing? Like, why are we doing that? Can we just do that thing that you do well on the table?" They couldn't make the connection. Didn't matter. Didn't matter what I educated them about, told them about, how it would work for them. Didn't matter.
So you're talking about an alternate type of treatment besides hands-on stuff. Is that what you're talking about?
In it, yeah, I am. But yeah, and yes, in
Like,
addition,
yeah, so like a vibe plate or something like that.
I mean, that could be an example. I mean, this was a different thing,
Right.
but yeah, and and that's the second or third time over the years that that's happened to me. So the
Okay.
brand of what I do, again, it is what it is.
Well, let me throw this by you. This is a little bit different. I create a little bit of my own personality in my room. And as you know, I've been taking pictures, I've been playing around with photography for a while. So I print off some of those pictures that I take and I put three of these pictures on my wall and I change them out every month. So every month I have three fresh new pictures and I don't, I was kind of following you, but I thought you were talking about how you decorated your rooms wasn't being met very well. But then you talked about it was a sort of treatment. And what I wanted to say is, who who do we decorate our rooms for? Is it for us or is it for the people that are in there for a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour? I
Yeah,
kind of think I'm going to be in there all day. I want to have some of the stuff that I like to look at.
definitely. And I know I probably got a little off track because I was thinking about the whole brand thing. And yeah, like what what are you looking at all day in your room? I have a picture board. I have kind of a similar thing. So I have a picture board with like a bunch of the little clothespin thingies on it,
Yeah.
and 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 I've always noticed ever since I introduced that people love to look at it. I put on and just little like pictures of there's Nate teaching a class, there's Nate teaching with Eric Dalton, there's Nate hanging out with Ben Stone, there's Nate and his kids at the football game,
Yeah.
and people always stop and I look at it intently, they ask me about it, and once a month I change out all those pictures.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I do the same thing because I noticed that that was something that really, I don't know, maybe it had made people feel more close to you, right? Kind of relate to you in a different way than a massage therapist guy.
Yeah, it makes you more human. Think about, I hear all the time about, I'm just going to use chiropractors as an example. You're in and you're out in 5 minutes. We have the benefit of working with people a little bit longer, but they get to see, hey, you're human, and they get to see a side of you that you don't see with some other people. And I think that helps build trust, safety. It might help with even therapeutic outcomes because they know, hey, Nate's a good guy. He's got this family that he loves. He loves what he does. He's showing pictures of himself doing the things that he does. Like, how can I not get better by going to see Nate?
Right. And actually, Ben, too, I have this cool thing in my office that the landlord hooked up for me. So he connected four, like, I don't know, they're probably like 55-inch TVs. And he tied them all together and then hooked them up to the Google Hoopy Dooby Play thing, right?
Yeah.
So then what I do when I open up the day and get everything going, I go on YouTube and I do things like I've just gone to Eric's YouTube page and I play video, just let it play videos of Eric all day. And people love that because they know how much the dude meant to me. And I've done the 24-hour fireplace. We've had some cold days this week, so on a cold day,
Yeah.
uh, we're starting to get a taste of fall here. So then I did like 24-hour like colored leaves just falling. And that's been kind of fun too. So now it's kind of people are slowly catching on to it as they get to know my space. And people are kind of like checking out, like, oh, what's he gonna play today?
I love that
So
idea. Can
that's been kind of
TVs anymore are just really cheap too.
yeah. So that's been actually kind of, and it sits right outside my treatment room. So people can see it not only from the waiting area, but then they see it, when they walk out of my room. And that's been kind of fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that.
And so then back to your actual question, yes, I would say 75% me looking at something because I'm there all day, and 25% my clients with certain
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Well, how about this? I'm going to introduce another question because that's what I do. I like to ask questions. What has a setup been like in the past that didn't work for you and that you said, I'm never going to do that again? Is there anything that you've seen in a room that you've worked in that just didn't work?
Why don't you answer that one, Ben, so I can think about that for a minute?
All right, I can do that. I
I'm
do
using
have,
my reverse Uno cards tonight.
yeah, you are. You're going through them. I'll say back, kind of when I first started, um, you know, you you talk to people and then they get undressed. You leave the room, they get undressed and get on the table. Well, what I learned, and this happened fairly quickly into my career, is when the face cradle part is facing the door, if you open the door and they're not quite ready yet, you're going to get a show. And I don't like that. So I always make sure their feet are facing toward the door so that I don't get any kind of show. And that's just something I've always done. And even though I don't, people don't get undressed all the time anymore with what I do, I still keep their feet away from the door just because that's what I've done.
Yeah, that's interesting, man, because I've I've always had the head towards the door, and I've never thought about your reasoning behind that. And I think part of it was honestly just where the plug was for the plug-in table. Now, I'm only very curious about this now because just the other day, I had this older German couple that comes and sees me every few weeks, and they're super cool. And they came into the new space, and the woman, the wife, said to me at the end, she goes, "Nathan, I have one suggestion for you." And I'm not going to try to do a German accent because hers is
That was
just
pretty
so.
good. I liked that.
That wasn't the best.
We should try doing an episode in all fake German accents.
You got to get to the chopper. So she goes, you should turn the table around. so that the feet are at the door. And it was fascinating to me because she'd seen me at my previous office for about a year and never said that. And I was like, man, I've been telling all my clients that because it's a new space, that I want their feedback. Be honest with me. And even if it's compliments, be honest with me. And so I've gotten two sort of suggestions so far, like actual real life suggestions. I mean, everyone's been like, your signs are awesome. It's all that. This is a beautiful space. And that's all fine and good. It makes me happy. So I was really thinking about it the last 2 days, but man, I can't, the way the plug orients on the table, I can't do it. And I don't want like 90 feet of extension cord across my room, you know?
Yeah.
So you just brought it up. Of course, somebody just said it to me the other day, and I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, is it that big of a deal? I don't know. Probably not, but it's
No, and here's the interesting thing too, like back to like an interesting concept. So, and this is like, I'm like 90% clients are clothed, and I got about 10% that, do we do the draping thing with. So it's a pretty small percentage. I mean, if I have two clients that do the drape thing a week, but it's getting cold, so regardless, people aren't coming in shorts and tank tops right now. People are starting to come in with they need to change down when they walk in the door. So I still have to step out of the room so that they could put what I call their massage outfit on. And so my new space is it's like super soundproofed. And so not only do I have like this, I have like sliding barn doors on my room now that
uh-huh.
the were put in. But on top of that, I put what's called a decibel curtain in front of it. So it's a black curtain, but it's also built for soundproofing for like recording studios, just to try to keep the sound in the room.
Nice.
So now when I'm outside of the room, like, hey, you ready yet? All set? I can't hear them.
Yeah.
And so I had this kind of a cool idea where I'm going to put a LED light outside of the room and give them the remote to change it to green when it's time for me to come in.
Oh, that's a great idea. I've always wanted to do that. I just didn't know how to make it happen.
Yeah, I think, well, a lot of them are like battery and plug in and remote,
Yeah.
so you can do it now because they have like battery operated ones that you don't need to plug in anymore. So
Well, I love the idea that you're getting feedback from your customers. And I came up with this idea a long time ago, and some of the best feedback, or this one of the best questions I asked to get feedback was, why do you come see me? What's the reason you come to see Ben Stone Massage Therapy? And that will really tell you a lot of things about what you do. And I think it was really helpful for me, for the people that were honest with me, and I appreciated that honesty. Hey, you helped me with my migraines, you helped me with my headaches, you helped me with my low back, those kinds of things. But it's one of those things that I didn't stick with it long enough, because I think some people weren't comfortable sharing at first. So for anyone listening, I think this is a great thing to do, and you've got to do it for probably a month or two and ask people to share. Why do you come see me?
I
And
love
it's
that.
it's some great information that you can use to evolve and improve what you do.
Yeah, man. And my analogy of bad haircut syndrome, it's funny now, like now that I'm in my new space and everyone's coming in and being like, your last place was small. It's a party. People are starting to get pretty, but to make this a positive, people come like right, people come to see you for a reason and they leave for a reason. And we like to think that those reasons that people come and see us is because we've helped them with their complaint. And people might come to see us because we might not be helping them with their low back pain, but maybe they don't get any like care or attention or therapeutic touch at home. Maybe your best conversation that they're going to have for the next 3 weeks. Man, maybe they just like hanging out with you and you just happen to provide a service at the same time. And, people leave because, hey, maybe one day, again, you didn't wear your black scrub pants and your black t-shirt, or you brought in a different service to try and something like that. And so now that people are like, your last place was terrible, I'm almost honored and I'm like, thanks for sticking with me through that. Because I know it was terrible based off the landlord. And there was a lot of problems outside of all my problems were outside of my control. So I'm actually turning around saying to people, hey, you stuck with me for a reason. I don't know what it is. And, hey, I appreciate that. Right. So it's meaningful.
Yeah, and think about if you know that reason, why are they sticking with you? And then the other piece of gold would be if you knew why people left, why they didn't come back. If you had that piece of information, wouldn't that be just gold?
So that's something I've done over the years, right? So when a client that you've been seeing forever, and to protect your ego and my ego, I will say that that's been a small number over the years, right? People aren't leaving in droves.
Yeah.
But when it's happened, I've always sent them an email. Hey, Nate, I got to cancel my next appointment. Hey, no problem, Ben. When can I get you on the books again? You know what, Nate? I think I'm going to take a break for now. Hey, listen, Ben, not a problem at all. I love working with you. My door is always open for you whenever that you want to reschedule with me. And by the way, can I ask you, was there anything I said or did that made you want to take a break, or is there just for another reason that I don't know? And my number one response, and again, number one out of maybe a handful of people, dude, you've helped me with everything, and I just feel good. I don't need to come to you anymore.
Yeah.
You were awesome. End
Isn't
of
that a great
story.
reason?
I mean, that's a great reason
Yeah.
versus, hey, man, I don't know what happened, but, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if you realize this, Nate, Ben, but you've been cutting farts every session. It's real bad.
What what is one of my favorite videos is you see two people,
Yeah.
and someone farts and the person on the massage table looks up and the massage therapist goes, "That's okay. It's completely natural." And the person on the table goes, "Yeah, but that was you."
That's you.
And then he goes, "Yes, but it's still completely natural."
It's really natural.
I mean, I think it's been a while since we've had a fart joke in one of our episodes, so
Yeah. Should
nice that
have.
we could work one of those in. Well, hey, did we have any interesting responses to our Facebook page, Ben and Nate's questions we asked massage therapists on the internet? Any ones in particular you would like to share with us?
Yeah. I think this I'm gonna read this one because I think it summarized everything we talked about tonight. Minimize clutter, right?
Yeah,
um, light, and she went on to say lighting is everything, which yeah, there you go. And then what you always say, keeping religious symbols out of our space and keeping a neutral space. So that's kind of cool. And back to the whole TV thing that I have in my office now, my last client of the day today said, oh, that's cool. You're playing like different themes. So she goes in October, you could put Halloween pumpkins in there. And I was like, I was like, Lori, I'm like, that's an awesome idea. I said, but I see she works a corporate job. I said, as well as I do that I probably can't put Halloween pumpkins up there because that could just, beat somebody up.
yeah,
So
true.
yeah, and I even think about that, even the whole Christmas thing, man, like keeping that stuff kind of neutral. So maybe a snowy scene, maybe the orange leaves would be a lot more neutral than something along those lines.
Oh man, that
I know.
That's getting tough. You're how personal do you want to get? And I've had people that come in that are different religions, and I forget sometimes, and I ask them, "Hey, what'd you do for Christmas?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we don't celebrate Christmas," and they're not upset at me, and I go, "Oh yeah, I forgot. My apologies."
Totally.
I think most of the time it's out there. People understand that it's out there. I don't, I just feel like I don't know if people get upset about showing pumpkins or a Christmas
I
tree
know.
or something like that. Maybe they might not be the right person for you, but everybody's got their things.
Yeah, maybe not. And I guess at the end of the day, I think that was some of my training that's from 18, 19 years ago. Those early ethics classes that probably burned a hole in some section of my brain. And that's probably why that's my initial gut reaction. But you know what, Ben? In 21 days, I'm going to put some pumpkins on that TV,
Put
and I'm
some
going to
pumpkins,
I'm going to report back to you.
and we want to see it posted on social media. Your different monthly, a different theme from the month. How about that?
Done. Done.
That's fantastic. Well, what did we miss? Did we cover everything important? I mean, there's so many things that we could talk about.
I think we did it, my friend. I think we did it. I
Yeah,
mean, ultimately, there's this divide of making the space yours, but making it inviting. What's going to be important for you? What's going to be important for the client? And necessary. What's necessary?
yeah. And here's what I'd like to throw out to everybody listening. You've heard the question, you've heard us talk. I want to hear your story about how you set up your room. What did we miss that we didn't talk about? What's important to you? What's important to your customers? What's the important things that we missed? Remind us, get on our Facebook page, Ben and Nate's questions that we ask massage therapists on the internet. Let us know. I want to know. I want to know from you. I want to interact. I want to continue to create this community that Nate and I have started.
And post a picture of your treatment room in the comments of this podcast.
Absolutely. We want to see what your treatment room looks like,
You got to do it.
cuz I know mine is not very great looking, but I like working there.
I like working with me too, Ben.
Yeah, I'm the best person I work with all day.
Oh
How
man.
about big takeaways, or what big impressions were left on you after this discussion that we had today, Nate?
Well, I love constantly. It's been my thinking the last year, right? The whole branding thing. So that's been on my mind a lot. So I like that we talked about that and brand versus decorations and everything. And I don't know. I think that was one of my fun ones tonight.
Nice.
How about you?
You know, there's a whole lot of things that I've been thinking about, and I think I kind of mentioned it, but we kind of go blind to what our room looks like because we see it every day. And so
Sure.
why not take the time to revisit it and say, what would I do if I were moving in brand new again? And so
Yeah.
I might try that with my room and just try to take a new look at it and say, hey, what can I do different? Do I need to do anything different? But I think, sometimes it helps to freshen things up a little bit, maybe clear the cobwebs out of the corners, that kind of thing. That's
Totally.
that's kind of what I was thinking about after everything that we talked about.
It's kind of like when you buy a new vehicle and you're like, this is going to be the one that there's no one's going to have food or drink. I'm going to vacuum. This is the one. No, no food, no drink. This is it, right?
Yeah.
My new office, I'm going to Swiffer every day. And, this is going to be the time that I do
Uh-huh. 2 weeks later, there you are eating French fries in the corner.
that. Stop spying on me, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw it. Well, let's see. Nate, tell people about if they like what they hear from us, how can they support what we do?
Answer the questions. Be part of it. Be part of this. listen to us, comment, and that's what we need you to do. When we post a question, we need your interactions, and y'all have been great about it. So we've been getting some cool interactions, and that's what keeps the show ticking.
Yeah, we've made a lot of good friends doing this show. We've made a lot of good friends teaching and going to workshops and all that stuff. So continue to listen, share it with someone who may need, a fun massage podcast to listen to. That would be Ben and Nate. So we appreciate you listening.
All right, my man. Hey, everybody, have a good week. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening.